Hello and welcome to your weekly tarot forecast for the week of June 15th through the 21st. If you're watching on video, you can see that we have all the feline support that we need this week. Bane and Harley. This is a week that we're going to dive into in just a moment as soon as I pick up the cards that Bane knocked off the table. Okay, we got some new headphones. We'll see if they're working appropriately once I finish this video. And I'm recording this week's video a little earlier than I normally would, so I'm not as steeped in the energy as I would normally like. I like to record things Sunday afternoon to evening so that I can kind of get into the week ahead's energy a bit more. And this week, my weekend is very busy. So in order to get this filmed, I'm filming this on on Saturday, early afternoon. Just giving you a heads up that if this feels like I'm a little still in last week's energy, it's because I am. That being said, this is our last week of Gemini season and the entry into Cancer season. Heads up that I will be having some special things happening around the services in the shop for Cancer season. They'll be trickling in until my birthday, which is on July 17th. So if you are a regular listener, be sure to be listening to the next couple weeks forecast because I'll be announcing some special sales and deals and events and things like that. So that's going to be coming up in the coming weeks. And this week, I want to announce that I'm starting signups for a in-person Become Your Own Healer training, which is my Reiki Level 1 training. So you've asked for it. I always have the online version. You can sign up for that anytime you want and do it at your own pace. But I get it. We want to be in person and commune with others and do things in the actual world. So I'm offering at least one in-person session every year. I might be convinced to do another one in like the winter time if there's enough interest, but this could potentially be your only time to do an in-person training until next summer, so summer 2027. Know that, again, the online session is always available. So if you don't care if you're online or in person, there's no deadline. But this particular session is going to be happening July 11th and 12th. So it's a Saturday into a Sunday. If you're only available for the 11th, I have a way for you to still get certified without having to be there for the 12th, but you do have to have pretty open availability on the 11th to successfully do that. So yeah, just know that that's available. I will put a link to that information below if you want to check that out. It's here in Chicago. And for those of you that already are a part of the online version of Become Your Own Healer, you are automatically invited to these in-person trainings. So if you would like to just pop into that one and get a little in-person interaction, whether it be for the actual lectures or for the healing exchange, drop me a message and we'll make those arrangements for you. Because if you are currently in the Become Your Own Healer online classroom, you are just automatically involved in this community no matter what. That's one of the perks of being a part of that class, is that you get lifetime access to things like this, including the in-person trainings, should you want to also experience in person after you've done online. So that's another thing to keep in mind. If you're not available for this summer's in-person training, you can sign up for the online training, get certified, and then if you still feel like you want the in-person experience, you can still be invited to attend the in-person one that happens next summer. All of that to say, it's a great way to shift your energy. I think of my life as before my Reiki Level 1 training and after my Reiki Level 1 training, because so much about my confidence, my energy, my intuition, everything shifted. So if you want a big shift this summer to realign your chakras, to tap into your intuition, to protect your energy, and to learn how to just self-heal to keep yourself in that alignment, that is a great way to do that. So that said, let's dive into this week. Monday, June 15th, we have the moon moving into Cancer. So very emotional sign. Moon is all about our emotions. It's okay to feel your feels on Monday. And if you're not used to feeling your feels, maybe it is a good time to do so. Journal things out, cry things out. I want to really say, especially based on the card for today, that nostalgia is big with Cancer energy. So I actually didn't mention this in last week's reading about Venus and Jupiter meeting up in the sign of Cancer, but I did on my random 2 to 3 times that I tap into Instagram on a feed that I don't know the creator because they like literally disappeared afterwards because they weren't like, I don't follow them. They were just on my like popped up on my feed algorithmically. But they did point out that this Jupiter conjunct Venus in Cancer does make us really nostalgic. And I definitely felt that in the energy last week. So if you didn't feel that last week, you might feel nostalgic with the moon in Cancer. Know that healed Cancer energy uses that nostalgia not to get stuck in the past or repeat old patterns, but to be able to bless and release the things that were good for us, bad for us, whatever, have fondness for the past, but also recognize that they were lessons to help propel us forward. So that's something that I'm feeling really big in my own energy this week. It's been a big shift. There's been a lot of like quantum leap energy in my own life ever since I discovered my Miranda Priestly Manifestation Method back last month. So if you want to check out that post and get some quantum leaps yourself, paid subscribers have access to that. But this also was a part of it, this integration of this nostalgic Cancer energy that's not about nostalgia that pulls me back into past situations, but instead helps me learn from them, helps me find appreciation for the past, but also helps me to move forward. And that's ideally what we're doing with this energy, both with last week's big Cancer energy with Venus and Jupiter there, and then the moon in Cancer is also giving us another opportunity to revisit that. And then of course we move into Cancer season coming up at the end of this week, and that's also an invitation to be able to be nostalgic without getting stuck. So that's what I want for us on Monday. The card that I mentioned that's going to support this energy is the Six of Cups. And the Six of Cups is about nostalgia and the past and happy memories. And especially when it's upright, we really are utilizing that nostalgia to our advantage. You might find that someone from your past comes back into your present and you have an opportunity to find gratitude for that connection and then decide with your current intuition if that's a connection that you need to continue on in your current life, or if it's something that you just have this brief moment of memory and then recognizing that you're in a different place now and you can move on from that energy. So Cancer is very loving. Cancer's almost loving to a fault and loyal to a fault. And so I think that the reason that Cancer energy can get stuck in the past is because we'll have energies from our past come forward and feel that sense of loyalty. Like not only feel that sense of fondness for the memories of the past, but also feel a sense of loyalty for the people in our lives. And you can still appreciate an energy and be grateful for it and send it love without feeling like it needs to be in your present experience. And that's a big lesson that a lot of us are learning right now with all this Cancer energy at play. We are letting go of the resentments and letting go of sort of the vindictive feelings around any wrongdoing from the past, but we're not letting a feeling of love and appreciation make us feel like we have to open the door to something that we've already closed the door to, if that makes sense. The other thing that's happening on Monday astrologically is Venus is sextile Uranus. So Venus, which just moved into Leo, sextile Uranus in Gemini. And that just means that these two planets are kind of conspiring to help us change some stuff, particularly in regards to Venus things. So love, beauty, creativity, money, and like your general aesthetic. And again, I mentioned last week with Venus and Leo, you might be feeling the need to kind of shake up your aesthetic or like make it a more prominent thing in your life of like dressing for the life that you want, not the life that you have. There was a Freudian slip there, not the love that you have. There might be someone that's dressing for the love that they want, not the love that you have. What would that look like? I'm so intrigued by that slip up. Yeah, and of course, dressing can be physical or it can be metaphorical, but you're showing up in your life with an aesthetic that is embodying the future that you want for yourself in whatever area of your life that is, but especially in areas that Venus rules. Moving into Tuesday, June 16th, in the evening, we have Venus trine Neptune. So we do have a very supportive energy. They're both in the same element. So Venus in Leo and Neptune in Aries. We have them coming together in a supportive positioning. It creates a little bit of luck. Again, it's the evening hours, so you might feel it more Tuesday night into Wednesday. But love, beauty, aesthetic, creativity, all the stuff that we talked about with Venus before is being supported by our dreams. So it actually might be a good night on Tuesday night to pay attention to your dreams. So keep a journal by your bed Wednesday morning. As soon as you wake up, write down anything that you remember. Even if you're just remembering or like noting that you woke up in a good mood, a bad mood, a scared mood, like whatever. You may not remember the visuals from your dreams, and maybe you don't even dream in visuals. Very curious. If you're the type of person that doesn't think in visuals, do you have visual dreams? Because that's always something that I'm always trying to wrap my mind around because my mind is so visual. So regardless of what you remember from your dreams, just write down the qualities of your physical and emotional being upon waking. And that might trigger some memories from your dreams, or that might be all that you need to know. And the more that you do that on a regular basis, the more you do start to remember your dreams a little bit more. But don't get too caught up in like remembering or not remembering. Just make a note in the morning of your state upon waking. And over time, there will be messages that come from that. Again, that's from Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. Take note of your dreams. Tuesday's card is the Knight of Pentacles reversed. I think we might have had the Knight of Pentacles reversed either last week or the week before. And actually, there were a couple cards that came back up this week from, I think, last week. And I do shuffle the deck. And then not only that, I don't even like take cards as they come. I like literally shuffle them until something falls out. So like this isn't a matter of like I didn't shuffle the deck enough and we got last week's cards. There's some energy that's still lingering. The Knight of Pentacles reversed is an indicator that we're waiting patiently and abundantly in the energy of abundance for harvest time. That's when it means when it's upright. You've planted the garden's blossoming, you have the things that you need, you've feathered your nest, you have all of the support that you need, because Pentacles are about monetary support, emotional support, feeling like secure and stable and safe in your home, family as well, or lineage, or whatever your chosen family is. It's about the support that we surround ourselves with to feel safe. And when it's in the reverse position, there's a couple different ways to read it, but the main thing that I'm picking up on this week is that we need to find a sense of appreciation for the support that surrounds us, for the life that we've created for ourselves, for the nest that we've feathered. So if we were to use the metaphor of like an actual like building of a nest, I see this image of like a little bird that's like built its nest to like the best of its ability and everything's safe and everything's secure, but they keep kind of like looking for other things to make it more safe. So this is being really appreciative for what is rather than looking around for things to fix. And that's something that a lot of us that are attracted to this type of work and mindset with spiritual work, we get caught up in that self-improvement cycle. And that's not to say that self-improvement isn't amazing and beautiful, but you don't need to be constantly in a state of looking for flaws to fix. So if that's how you've been feeling about your home life, about your family life, about your abundance, about your job, this is a day on Tuesday to just find gratitude for what is and be appreciative for the things that you've built and the hard work that you've put in. And give yourself a little break. Because again, as we mentioned at the beginning of this month, June is about sort of that summer vacation energy. So while there will be time for self-improvement and building more later, that time is not really now. Right now, we're supposed to take stock of the things that we've created and find appreciation for that and be able to kind of rest on our laurels a bit and give ourselves a little bit of a breather, because we will burn ourselves out if we're constantly striving for something else without taking these moments of downtime. So Tuesday's some downtime, whether it be mentally, emotionally, or physically. Wednesday, again, like I said, keep the dream journal by your bed on Tuesday night. Wednesday morning, make note of that. We also have the moon moving into Leo. So Leo moon, theatrical, go big or go home. If you've got some emotions to express, let yourself express them. That might even be expressing them through some sort of like performance or art, something that gets you noticed. But it can just be letting yourself feel things deeply and big and not being afraid to share those feelings with the world. We also have Venus opposite Pluto. So Venus is in opposition to Pluto, our planet of sort of generational transformation and change. You might find that your personal goals in regards to creativity, aesthetic, love, and money feel in opposition to the greater goals of the world at this time. But I'm just going to tell you that that's not the case. Again, the micro affects the macro. So this might be a day that you're doubting, or this might be a day that you're calling yourself a little selfish. That you're like, oh, how dare I enjoy my abundance and create little pieces of art when there's so much going on in the world that needs changed. And again, we can't change everything in a day, and we're also not all assigned to changing the entire world. And the only way that you can know what your personal assignment is to shift the energy of on this planet is to focus more in on yourself and tap into your intuition until you get the natural impulse to act. So that's not to say that we don't do good things for the outside world, to donate to worthy causes, to volunteer, to make big change in the world. It's just that you have to stay in whatever your lane is to do the best efforts and to not burn yourself out. And the only way that you can find your lane is to be deeply connected to yourself, your intuition, and your desires, and to act from a place of alignment and feeling in alignment with the action towards a goal. So if you're looking at the problems of the world and you're like, I don't know how to fix this, that's because it's either not your job or not your time yet. And the more that you meditate and heal yourself and align yourself and give yourself Reiki if you have that power and cleanse your energy and stay in your little best version of your energetic bubble, the more the universe will reveal to you the actions that feel natural in alignment with your skills and available to you at this time. Because if it feels like you feel helpless, then look for the things that you can change. And the easiest thing for you to change is yourself and your own energy. So start there and then continue to let it ripple out, whether it be just energetically where you never take action and your presence in the world shifts the energy of those around you, or whether it be that you get in alignment with yourself, you give yourself a break for a little bit, you let go of those feelings of burnout, and suddenly one day you wake up and you're in meditation and you're like, I really want to go do X, Y, and Z. And X, Y, and Z is what ends up shifting the community around you or doing something better for the greater good. But you can't get there without aligning yourself first. That's the energy of Wednesday. The card of the day is kind of echoing that message because we have the Hermit card. So the Hermit card is about disconnecting from the outside noise and tapping into yourself. So especially on Wednesday, if you're on social media, online, looking at the news cycle, if all of that is what's making you feel like, oh, who am I to feel happy in my life when there's so much going on wrong in the world? Or who am I to focus on myself and be selfish whenever I should be trying to change people, things happening on the other side of the planet? You have to disconnect from that noise, tap back into yourself, find that state of like being able to listen to your intuition and that little voice. And that little voice will eventually speak to you in ways that will change the world, but you can't get there from where you're at, feeling overwhelmed and wanting to change things that you have no power over. Wow, that's big energy for a vacation month. But that's going to be part of the reset, is disconnecting, going within, finding that state of calm and letting yourself off the hook for not being able to save the entire planet at once, and then letting the inspiration occur to you when it's meant to, which may not be on Wednesday, and that's okay. Tap into your own energy, see what comes up, and if what comes up means that you need to take a nap, take a nap. If it means that you need to create something for yourself, create something for yourself. Maybe that thing comes out into the world later and people feel changed by it. Or maybe you create something for yourself, give yourself a little vacation time, and all of a sudden you feel inspired to go cure cancer or whatever it is your lane is. You will feel the inspiration eventually, and you don't have to get there on your timeline. So if the outside news cycle or the social media world is making you feel like you're behind on helping the planet, tap back into yourself a little bit, take a break from the noise, and trust what's going to come forward from your inner voice. That's Wednesday. Thursday, quieter astrology, but a really great card. We have the Three of Wands in the upright position. So this is prime energy for manifestation. Now, we had our new moon Sunday of last week, so you might have already been contemplating your manifestations. Because the moons are more of like a 6-month manifestation cycle, the new moon goes to the full moon, and that's like the timeline. I like to think of this card coming up now as more of like a shorter manifestation cycle. Like, what do you want to align your energy to call in the next couple weeks or the next couple days? A really great exercise that I love for this kind of energy is from a book called E Squared. Highly recommend it. It's an author named Pam Grout. She has an entire series of books that's about aligning your energy to manifestations. And E Squared in particular really gamifies and simplifies the idea of getting your body and your soul and your mind used to the energy that the universe is here to support you, and that what you ask for does come to you. So one of the exercises I want to recommend at this time for this card is the 48-hour gift exercise. And this is an exercise where you get yourself centered, you get yourself aligned, and you decide to just ask the universe, angels, guides, God, whatever it is that you believe in as far as a higher energy that's kind of helping to orchestrate things. Ask that a gift be presented to you in the next 48 hours. And when you're just starting this project, you want to just get real vague. Like, you just ask for a gift. You don't have a specific thing in mind. You just want a present, a surprise, something you weren't expecting that you're going to find joyful. And then for the next 48 hours, the great thing about this exercise is you are constantly out in the world looking for presents. You might be looking on the ground to see if someone dropped a $100 bill. You might be looking at invitations that people send you and think, is this my gift? Should I go to that party? Is that where something cool is going to happen? But you're in an energy of positive expectation. And my nose itches. Oh, I forget what that's a sign of, other than the fact that it's probably a sign that I have cat hair on my nose. I think it's someone's thinking about you. So maybe that's also a sign from this day. But 48 hours, just ask the universe for a gift, and then go out in the world expecting a gift of some sort to arrive. And you get to decide what you accept as that gift. I've done this project in group coaching classes before, and I've had people come into the next meeting and say, hey, I collect pennies that are dropped on the street, and I found a penny that day. And so that was my gift. So very simple, not necessarily a huge gift, but meaningful to that person. There's been stories of people like having someone actually literally give them a gift. Like, someone had a neighbor create make a purse for them and leave it for them with a little note. It can be what you want to accept it to be as, but you will receive something that feels like a gift in the 48 hours prior to setting this intention. So try it on. If you get your gift, leave it in the comments below. Tell the story, because it's really great to read other people's stories of this working. It helps to embolden all of our energy around that. That is Thursday. And again, quieter astrology. So there's nothing getting in the way of you doing this manifestation alignment. Friday, we have Chiron moving into Taurus. So Chiron is an asteroid, not a planet, but it does move a little bit slower. We've been in Aries for quite some time, like since before the beginning of this year. And like, I want to say it might even take like up to a year or two for Chiron to move planets. I forgot to do my checking to see how slow Chiron moves, but just know that it moves slow. It's not necessarily like Pluto, that it's going to be like a generational planet, that it only changes every 20 years, but it is noteworthy when this asteroid changes signs, because it does shift the energy in a way that we haven't experienced for a while. So Chiron in Taurus, first of all, is going to really affect whatever area, whatever house Taurus lands in your personal astrological chart. Now, I haven't mentioned this or plugged this in a while, but I do have a special downloadable resource for those that either are new subscribers or who upgrade to another subscription tier. And it does do a breakdown of what is your rising sign, these are your houses, and these are the planets, and these are little buzzwords that you can use to kind of translate what's happening in the planets versus the houses. Now, granted, I'm going to tell you, Chiron is not on that list. Maybe I need to update it because, again, I did the planets. But for all other planetary movements, you can look at what your rising sign is if you know your birth time. And once you know your rising sign, I list all the houses and what those houses mean or what they rule over in your life. And then I also have a list of all the major planets and kind of buzzwords for what they help or what they're moving around in your life. And so what you can do with this download that some of you have, if you're a newer subscriber, if you are a newer upgrade person, you got that download link. You can literally listen to any of these forecasts or any other forecast that someone says, and anytime they say that a planet is moving into a certain sign, you can look up that sign in your rising sign cheat sheet. You can see what house it is for your rising sign, and then it'll tell you like certain areas of your life, like self or relationships or money. And then you can go look at the planet list and you can see the buzzwords for that planet, and you can kind of mad lib together a little translation of what that's going to mean for you personally, not just like for the global collective, but for your personal astrology. So with that plug out of the way, again, Chiron's not on this list, but you will be able to know what house Taurus is in. So if you don't know that already, that download's a great way to do it. Chiron is our wounded healer planet. So this is an energy that can be a little bit of a pain point. Like it's like that tender point that you don't want to poke at too much. But in actuality, we do kind of want to poke at it, unlike the metaphor where you wouldn't want to necessarily poke at a bruise all the time. We don't want to be afraid of exploring the wounds that Chiron has for us, because essentially the wounds that are associated with Chiron are also the secret to our life purpose and our greater happiness on this planet. If we can make peace with those wounds, if we can integrate those wounds, if we can learn lessons from them and maybe even teach others those lessons, that's what Chiron is. So Chiron is taking something that was painful in your past and transmuting it in a way that doesn't deny the fact that you had the pain, but that makes it into something that's more like a healing salve or a balm, both for your own heart and for anyone else that you can give advice to based on that energy. And I know I've got a little bit of a wider demographic as to the age range that listen to these videos, but a lot of us are in sort of the 30s into 40s, and that's a timeline that we're starting to transition into sort of like the wiser ones of the tribe, for lack of a better word. The actual cycle, especially for the biologically female of us, as we go through the maiden mother crone cycle. But because crone has negative associations, I hate to just use that term casually. I don't have negative associations with it, but we could also call it the wise witch. We can call it the oracle. We're using our past pain from our previous incarnations, previous cycles, and we're learning the lessons from them and integrating them in a way that not only do we now feel more healed and whole, but younger generations, whether it be our children, our nieces, our nephews, or just people in our life that just happen to be of a younger generation, can come to us and kind of get some insight, whether it be literally you're giving advice to people or they're just seeing how you deal with stuff and kind of you're being more of a role model. That's kind of the energy that's happening with Chiron. We're looking for a way to transmute a wound to not only be healing for us, but healing for others. And with it moving into Taurus, again, definitely check your personal astrology, because whatever house it's moving into, that's going to be where you have the most sort of like pain points coming up to be healed so that you can transmute it. For my fellow Aquarius rising signs, it's in our 4th house. So 4th house is roots, family, lineage, all that stuff. So there might be some ancestral stuff coming up to heal there, but translated accordingly, according to what house Taurus falls in for you. For the general collective, Taurus is about stability that supports pleasure. So I always like to think of Taurus energy as sort of like working really hard throughout the work week so that you can really enjoy the leisure of your weekend. So like if you were to picture someone that like had no trouble going into work and like didn't stress themselves out, but like went into work, put their nose to the grindstone, like did the thing they needed to do to get the paycheck that they needed to get, so that on the weekend they could completely disconnect from work and buy all the good food that they wanted to eat and go on the vacations they wanted to go on and take all the naps that they wanted to take. It's an earth sign, so there is like a hearty work ethic to Taurus energy, but it's for the sake of the pleasure that comes after that work. So whereas like Capricorn energy gets a bad rap for being sort of like the workaholic in general and like can be like 24/7 work, Taurus knows the difference between work and play and knows how to balance the two out. And they know that the work serves the play and the pleasure and the leisure time. And so it's more that they're working for the sake of the weekend, for a very cliche terminology. So we're dealing with pain points around those concepts. So maybe you found that you're too far in the leisure or too far in the work, or you've got some like traumatic events and occurrences and mindsets from your past that are affecting the way you view work or view pleasure. And we're healing those and we're exploring those. But Chiron has to be able to look at the wound to heal it. So think of it like going to the emergency room or to the doctor because you like have an open cut. Like you want the doctor to examine the wound before they treat it. So with Chiron, we're learning to examine the wound, then treat it, then heal it, then use the lessons we learned through that process to help ourselves in the future and anyone else who wants to learn from our, benefit from our knowledge. Okay. Moon is also moving into Virgo that day. So we might have a little more organization around our emotions or more analytical around our emotions, grounding things. Yeah, I don't feel like going on a tangent for that, but that's also happening. So just know that. The card of the day is the Justice card reversed. So Justice card upright is trusting that you keep your side of the street clean and you don't have to worry about anyone else's stuff. When it's reversed, I'm getting the message that, especially in regards to this Chiron wounds, and I mentioned this term earlier in the week, there's a bit of vindication. Is that the term that I'm trying to look for? There's a need for vengeance, to get really extreme with the terminology. So we are trying to utilize that loving Cancer energy that I mentioned earlier, that's also going to come into play at the end of the week, to find like a bless it and release it mentality and a forgiveness mentality. Because it feels like when we start to examine these wounds, there's going to be a tendency to want to blame, to want to punish in some way, whether it be through emotional manipulation or withholding or actual physical punishment, the people that we feel have contributed to those wounds. And that's not the higher minded way to deal with this. So when we flip this card upright, it's a card of karma. And you don't have to concern yourself with other people's karma. That is not your job to dole out the punishments. It's not your job to decide how those punishments appear or when they appear. You just have to keep your side of the street clean. And part of keeping your side of the street clean is forgiving those that have done you wrong. Because if you're holding on to that vengeance, it's going to affect you physically. It's going to affect your relationships, whether it be with that person or with other people. And it's just not going to do you any service. So do the work with Chiron in Taurus, whatever that lesson is for you, to forgive those involved. and to trust that they will get whatever the greater universe deems is appropriate for them. And it may not look like what you think it's supposed to look like if you're in this place of vengeance. But everyone is getting their just desserts, and you just need to make sure that you're not holding on to an energy that's going to interfere with you getting the best possible version of that. So make sure that your karma is clear. And that's Friday. Okay, Saturday, we have Uranus square the North Node. So it's 2:50 a.m. Not super concerned with how it's going to affect the rest of the day, but it's the planet of change is in a difficult square to the North Node, our true north, the direction we're supposed to lead. I'm actually getting this might be more of a global stage thing. So again, we know that I focus more on the micro, the stuff that we ourselves can control. We might see something Friday night into Saturday morning that feels a little like what I was talking about on Wednesday, where like we need to kind of disconnect from like the things that we can't actually physically help right now in this moment, or that we don't know how to help because we're not in alignment with the solution. Yeah, something that feels like 2 steps forward, 1 step back on the global stage could be occurring on Friday night. But no, that's not permanent. There's never, like, we can never get it wrong. There's always another chance. Yeah. And I don't get too concerned about it. Again, concern yourself with what you can affect. And if the only thing that you're capable and your energy to affect right now is regulating your nervous system, that is your assignment. So if you need to disconnect from something that's happening in the global stage, disconnect. The good news is, card of the day is the Knight of Cups. So we either are offering or having some sort of offer of love, creativity, or an intuitive message coming in for us on Saturday. So I would say if you're doing the work with the beginning of the week's message to like focus in on yourself and not worry yourself about the global stage until the inspiration to act on something occurs to you naturally, and you're aligning your karma and you're aligning with your manifestations, it's entirely possible on Saturday you'll have the impulse to act on something that could potentially solve a lot of problems, both for you and for the outside world, even if you can't see at the time how that's going to happen. But we want to tap into our intuition on Saturday to just see what wants to come forward. Or it also could be, oh my God, is this going to work out the way I think it is? Oh, it is. You remember how I mentioned? This is so great. I love the way that these messages unfold. I don't plan this stuff out, guys. I kind of just riff and like let what I know about the cards and the astrology come forward as I'm looking at the days. When I felt called to tell you on Thursday that you should follow the E squared assignment to ask for a gift in the next 48 hours, this gift coming in on Saturday is 48 hours from asking for that gift on Thursday. So I think this is our gift coming in, or us noticing that the gift came in. It could have come in on Friday, but you're like at the end of the timeline, you're like, oh yeah, I guess that was my gift. I should appreciate that. I should give thanks for that. That's what I love for this. So again, like forget about any stress that's happening on the global stage, because you've got a gift coming to you on Saturday if you did the assignment on Thursday. Again, let me know what it is. Even if it's something small, like celebrate the little wins. So even if a great gift that I can example of, I went to a vending machine to purchase something the other day, and I was purchasing something that was $2 and there was already $1 credit on that machine. That's a gift. It's like small and like not really gonna change my life, but it's still a gift, and you need to be grateful for that. So whatever gift comes in by Saturday, I want you to give it a little bit of appreciation and recognize it as a gift. On Sunday, we start Cancer season. So the sun moves into Cancer 3:25 a.m. on Sunday, Central Standard Time. Cancer season, as I've already talked about with the moon and Cancer forecast at the beginning of the week, it's about nostalgia, but it's about hopefully appreciating the past, learning from the past, and moving forward rather than trying to repeat cycles. A phrase that keeps coming forward for my own personal assignment is, and I love this line from the moment that I heard it the first time that the album came out, Taylor Swift's Life as a Showgirl, Opalite, The first line of that song, I had a bad habit of missing lovers past. My brother used to call it eating out of the trash. And I love that phraseology. And I've actually even seen some memes where people have tweeted like, all it took was Austin Swift calling missing past lovers eating from the eating out of the trash to get me to delete my ex's number. Like, it doesn't have to be about exes. It can be about anything. But if we're trying to make Cancer nostalgia healthy, we need to have that line kind of playing in the back of our heads at all times. Of, yes, I'm going to appreciate the past. I'm going to honor it. I'm going to recognize the things that I've learned and grown and how I've changed. And oh my gosh, I have so much love for all the people in my life that got me to this point. But if there's any temptation to go back to a place you already moved on from, there's no need to eat out of the trash. That's not what we're doing. We are more worthy of better food than that. So there is a bit of self-worth that gets healed with Cancer's healed energy, because Cancer does love and feel so loyal to those around them that they can sometimes kind of accept less than what they deserve. And we are definitely healing that wound through this Cancer nostalgia of being grateful, loving, appreciating, being even loyal. But loyalty might look differently in a healthy place than it does in an unhealthy place. Ooh, that felt like a statement someone needed to hear. So let me repeat that again. Loyalty can look different from a healthy alignment with healthy boundaries than from an unhealthy alignment with diffused boundaries. That's really important information for Cancer energy. I've got chills. That's like reverberating through my being as a Cancer sun sign. That is the best way that I can verbalize the lesson that I myself have been working on the past couple years and what I hope for you during this Cancer season. Couple other things happening that day, not as big, but also noteworthy. The sun is sextile Chiron. So Chiron, which we just discussed, moving into a whole new sign, is lining up with the sun in Cancer, or not lining up, that's conjunct. Sextile means that they're in a supportive positioning of one another. Again, I like to picture it like the two planets are coming together, they're having a cup of tea, they're looking down at us on Earth, and they're like, how can we help this along in whatever our, specific areas of ruling are. So sun rules the self, our identity, our ego, our view of ourselves. Chiron, again, is our wounded healer. So in a way, as we move into Cancer season, there's something about our wounds and examining them and healing them and teaching from them that's going to really support our sense of self and our identity. So if there's any sort of shame around your wounds, we're healing that in this alignment. They're part of you, but they also are, again, a part of your past. So we're still working with that energy of like, the past is still in the past and you can appreciate what happened, but you can still heal and move on from it and don't get stuck in that storyline. That's another thing that's happening with the nostalgia push-pull that we're feeling with Cancer energy, is that sometimes revisiting the past and retelling the story too often keeps you in that alignment. So especially if there's a negative thing that happened in your past and you're constantly using it as an excuse for who you are and like explaining the story to everyone around you, you're just keeping yourself stuck in that energy. So we need to find that fine line of like appreciation for what the past has given us and how it's affected our energy, but also telling a different story. You don't have to explain to everyone all your wounds to make excuses for who you are. You either make peace with who you are so you don't need to make excuses for it, or you heal what's happening so that you're not doing things that you feel the need to excuse. Sorry if that was a little bit of a tough love for someone. The other thing that's happening, the moon is moving into Libra. Libra does have a tendency to, like Cancer energy, be a little codependent sometimes. So with the sun moving into Cancer at the same time or the same day that the moon's moving into Libra, be mindful of your codependent actions and mindsets. You are an individual, you heal yourself, you focus on you, and then like deal with the other stuff around you based on that alignment, including your closer partners. The card of the day is the Magician card in the reverse position. So I would like to flip this card over through the course of Cancer season. The Magician card upright means that we have all the tools that we need. Like we've learned everything that we need to learn to be able to deal with the situation at hand right now. So I think that that's kind of speaking to the wounded healer Chiron energy, the nostalgia of Cancer energy. All the things from our past have accumulated into the being that we are right now so that we can handle what's in front of us. And sometimes what's in front of us is healing the wounds from those past things and moving on from them and not telling that story anymore. But know that you don't need to learn anything. You don't need to do anything like outside of what you've already established in your healing. Like you don't need to acquire new certifications. You don't need to feel inadequate in any way to face what's in front of you and what you need to heal in this moment. And we might be feeling a little like we do need to be someone different to deal with what's in front of us. And the answer to that is you become someone different by dealing with what's in front of you. I stumbled over that, and that was really important. So let me say that one again too. You don't need to be something different to deal with what's currently in front of you, or be someone different to deal with what's currently in front of you. You need to deal with what's currently in front of you, and that is what makes you someone different. So if you have sort of like a natural, intuitive, or like preconceived notion of like, oh, to get this job, to manifest that money, to have that relationship, to be a stronger person, to deal with the stress that I'm dealing with right now, I need to be someone else than who I am. That's your intuition seeing into the future of who you're going to be when you tackle this challenge. So just keep following that thread. Okay, that is our week and our entry into Cancer season. At this time, we're going to do the personal reading drawing. So if you're unfamiliar, all of my paid subscribers go into this little tin right here, and I shake it up and I draw a name, and I do a past, present, future reading for that person. It also can be seen as a collective reading. If you feel called to stick around, that is your intuition telling you that in some way, shape, or form, the person's name that I draw is dealing with some sort of similar energy to you, and you're going to get some advice from what I'm about to say. Last week, do I remember who won? I think Caitlin won last week. So let me pop open this, pull Caitlin's name, because the rule is that you don't win 2 weeks in a row unless I don't remember who did last week's reading. And we'll shake this up. Oh, I want to thank all of the paid subscribers: Caitlin, Amanda, Holly, Tracy, Jane, Sonia, Paula, Katie, Kelly. Thank you for being here this month, and let's see who wins. Is this just one? I think it's just one. Okay. Paula! I think it's your first paid subscriber winning, so congratulations on that. I'm glad that it got to you. Again, that's why I do these random drawings, so that I can kind of leave it up to the universe, but I do kind of secretly hope that new paid subscribers get a personal reading pretty soon after they become a paid subscriber. So Paula, we are going to pull past, present, future cards for you, and I'm going to shuffle up the deck. I don't know how hard that's coming across on the microphone because I hear it a lot in these earphones. And let's see what wants to come forward, what focus, what energy is helpful for Paula, as well as anyone who's listening this week. Okay, we got one for the past, one for the present. Oh, we can't take that many. Let's keep shuffling. Those two really wanted to come out, and they're deep underneath my desk. So excuse me for a second while I take a little duck under. Okay. Tried to carefully not flip them around so they're in the position that they fell. All right. Ooh, Paula, you've got 2 major arcana and 2 minor arcana. So right off the bat, major arcana are a sign that there's a lot of fate at play, that the universe, oh, that's my alarm that tells me I need to go soon, that the universe is here to tell you, to help you along in whatever chapter you're currently encountering. It's kind of a sign that, like, regardless of your actions, you're going to end up at a certain endpoint because the universe wants you to get there. But then you have 2 minor arcana, which means that there is still a lot of free will at play in the decisions you make along the way. So recent past energy, we have the Death card in the reverse position. So this is always, first of all, the Death card is always a sign of rebirth, but especially when it comes through in a reverse position, I'm feeling that you're on, like in the recent past even, you've gone through a process of leaving a chapter behind and you'd already started that process of rebirth. So this is almost like a new beginning type thing that's happening here. But also recognizing, because it is the Death card, that with every ending, there's still like a grieving process. And that doesn't have to be an ending of a life. It can be ending of a job, a relationship, a circumstance, a version of you. But there's something that happened in the recent past where there was a chapter that closed out. There was a little bit of grief over that chapter closing out. And then now you're like resetting and you're starting anew. You're being reborn into a new version of yourself, a new chapter of your life. In the present, we have the Ten of Cups reversed. So I'd prefer to have this card upright. So we'll talk about it upright, and then we'll talk about how you can get it upright in the present moment. Ten of Cups upright is blessings abound, communities surrounding you, love and support and good vibes and best wishes. For some reason, in this moment, I'm getting a bit of sort of like graduation energy from this, which is not normally a way that I would term this card, but like I'm getting imagery around like the part, like when you graduate from like high school and there's like all these well wishes and all these like cards and money and parties and presents and like things coming in to celebrate this chapter that you're going into. And also the people around you that want to support you, that have supported you in the past, that still are trying to support you in this next chapter. This card, because it's in the reverse position, I feel like there's not enough celebration in your life currently about this past transition, and about the people that are there to support you. So I want you to, in your mind, kind of start like visualizing this current state of your life as if that time period of graduating from high school. Like think of all the potential and possibility that was surrounding you and all the people that were praising you for the work that you've done and were excited for your future, and recognize that that's still there. And it may look different, like there's not gonna necessarily be graduation parties and presents, but like there's a feeling of you have so much both physical and spiritual support around you, cheering you on into this next chapter. And there might not be enough focus being put on that. Like you might not be letting that energy in as much as you need to. So I want you to think of it like you're in your mind throwing yourself a graduation party from this recent event in the past. And as you move into this next chapter, I want you to cultivate just as much excitement and sense of possibility as you did graduating high school and moving on to whatever you did next. That's the present moment. The future, you had 2 cards come out at once. The first is the Queen of Pentacles. So I do feel like there's a sense of security in both your home and your finances that you're trying to cultivate in the near future. And the fact that this is coming on the upright position says that that's really possible. I think shifting your focus around the present moment into that sense of possibility is going to open the door in your mind to see the way to get to this Queen of Pentacles state where you're sitting on your throne and you're luxuriating. And like, this is kind of Taurus energy. So I mentioned Chiron and Taurus being about like working for the weekend. This is like getting the point where you've put in the work and you can sit on your throne and you can eat your grapes and you can appreciate the stability that you've created for yourself in your life. But in order to get to there, in your mind and in your energy, you have to cultivate that sense of possibility and excitement in the present moment. The other card that's coming in is the Wheel of Fortune in your near future. So it's in the reverse position. So this does indicate that with this stability that you're cultivating, there's going to be ups and downs. The Wheel of Fortune is always about that, because anytime that we see a wheel moving forward, it's swinging up, it's swinging down, it's swinging up, it's swinging down. That's the nature of forward movement on a wheel. It has to do both of those things. So try to recognize that any downswings are not a sign that you're on the wrong path. It's not a sign that you're not in alignment and that you're not moving forward. It actually is a sign that you're moving forward. And so recognize that while you're cultivating this sense of possibility, and you are moving towards this place of stability and security, you also are going to experience inevitable downswings on that path. So maybe the metaphor of like high school graduation is really great for that. I assume based on, actually, I don't know. You may have gone to college, you may not have gone to college. So, but whatever it is that you did after high school, moving into that sense of possibility, there were good times and there were bad times. There were hard times and there were easy times. Like, think of it like you're moving from high school into college, and like sometimes college is a great time, and then sometimes you have to study really hard or pull an all-nighter or whatever, and those don't feel so great, but it's all in the momentum of moving forward. So I feel like this Wheel of Fortune isn't so much like a warning or like something you should stress about. It's just something you should let yourself off the hook for if it's not all a downhill like feeling battle. Like if it doesn't feel like you're just skating along, you are going to have to still put in the work to get to this point, but there are also going to be times that you can really enjoy it. Again, think of that working for the weekend mindset. You're going to put your nose to the grindstone. It's going to be hard sometimes, but then you're going to really get to appreciate and enjoy it. And make sure that you are cultivating that Taurus energy mindset that I talked about with Taurus and Chiron, in that the work is in service of the leisure time. So be sure to give yourself leisure time and breaks and opportunities to enjoy the abundance and the hard work that you've put in. Otherwise, you're going to burn yourself out. That is the reading. I do have to go to my next thing that's going to like trigger this really busy weekend that I had, which is why I was recording this reading early. I hope that reading served you well, Paula, as well as anyone else who listened. And I will see you again next week for our first full week in that beautiful Cancer energy.